Well, howdy. Welcome back to the Double M Farm. It's been a week or two since I've done anything, and was kind of sitting around thinking, I don't have a lot of digging to do. I do have one project I'm getting ready to do that I'm going to do a video on. I wanted to do something, and then I had a gentleman ask a very interesting question on one of my older videos. He had just happened to find an older video on YouTube that I had done several years ago, and he's in the process of ordering one of these Harbor Freight trenchers. And his question, it was R-Wind was his name on YouTube. So R-Wind, if you're watching this, I appreciate you asking the question, because it got me to thinking. And his question was, could you give me a list of mods and you know, what was the first mod you did, what was the most important mods you did to your trencher, and what are the first things I should do to mine when I get it? And he said, thinking about speed, strength, and I'm trying to remember what was the other word he used. He was interested in mods that would affect speed, strength, and convenience, I believe was the other word. So I sat around and got to thinking, and thought, you know, I've got a video on just about everything. Every mod I've done to this machine, I've done a video on, but they're scattered all in there. And you know, unless you've been following the channel from day one or gone back and watched every single video I've done, or the thousands of other videos that other guys have done, and there's a whole bunch of good videos on towable trenchers, not just the Harbor Freight. But I got to think about that. I said, you know, it's not a bad idea to maybe try to condense it all into one. But I told him, I answered his question on that particular video in the comments section. I thanked him for the question. Again, I thank you, R-Wind. And I'll say on here the same thing I said on there. It's a hard question to answer. What are the most important mods a new owner to a Harbor Freight trencher can do? And the more I thought about it, it was really, there is no answer, because it's going to be different. And I'm sorry, I'm trying my best not to shake the camera. I don't have the tripod today, and I'm trying not to shake the camera. But there is no specific answer, because everyone uses their machine differently and in different conditions. Like for me, I'm at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains on hilly ground, rocky, hard clay. I mean, every hole I dig here is pretty much like digging in concrete. And I've been digging I'm going into my 6th year now with this thing. It's been 5 years, and I'm going into my 6th year. I got one of the very first ones when they switched over to red from the old orangey, faded, whatever color that was. The Kubota, the faded Kubota orange. But anyhow, so everyone, I mean, I know a guy that puts a lot of good videos on that's down in Florida. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but he's digging in sand. I mean, you can watch his videos, and they're outstanding videos. He does a great job with his trencher. And I'd tell you his name and channel, and it has skipped my mind right off the top of my head here. So what happens when you're approaching 70 years old. But the conditions and also the way you operate it have a lot to do with what kind of mods you want to do. And I will tell you right off, 2 of the questions he asked about modifying for speed and strength. In the over 5 years I've had mine, I've done 0 modifications for speed or strength. A lot of people have, because a lot of people have broken things. And I'm not going to say a lot about that, because I say something about that seems like on every video. And I brag on the fact, and I don't mind. I don't know how it makes me sound, but I'm very proud of the fact that in all over 5 years I haven't broken anything. I've lost a tooth. I did break one of my add-ons, one of my mods. It was my fault, not the machine's fault, but I guess that's the only thing I've really broken. I lost a tooth, found it with a metal detector, and put it back on. but I've never done anything to affect the speed or the strength. I'll touch on both of those briefly, but since I've never done those mods, I'll leave that up to some of the other guys who have done those mods to talk about that, and because they've got first-hand experience on doing it. And before we get into the mods I have done, we'll just get those out of the way. As far as speed, some of the mods you can do is go to a larger diameter hydraulic line. You can go to a faster, stronger hydraulic pump. And there are some good videos. There's a lady got an outstanding video showing her taking that one off and putting on a faster pump and the adapter plate that she had to order to put it on. And gosh, I should have written these names down for these people I'm talking about them, and can't even give you a link to get to them. I just did. I did this on the spur of the moment, sitting over there in the shop. I decided, let's do this real quick. So, sorry I don't have those names to get you to those channels, but you can do a search and find them on YouTube. It's not that difficult. But those, and people have gone to a larger motor. I may eventually, I'm assuming, I will wear, this is still the stock 9 horsepower Predator engine, and I'm assuming eventually I'll wear it out. And if and when I ever do, if it wears out before the rest of the machine does, I will probably go to a larger engine for one reason, because I can go to like a 13 horse Predator engine and put it with an electric start. And as I get older, it wouldn't be bad to have an electric start. This thing starts so easy, it's not a huge deal, but still, I may do that down the road if it ever comes to that. But those are the 2 mods that I've never done, speed and strength. That was the speed. As far as strength, people have talked about breaking the outriggers, and I've seen a lot of them come in here and weld braces across here, under here, across here. You know, I've seen people weld braces all over around the bucket, different places. I've got the stock bucket, the stock outriggers. I've never even come close to breaking one. I just, again, I don't want to get into a lot of detail on that because I've harped on it so much, but my God. I just don't understand how anybody's breaking these things. So, but they are. Now again, mine's going into its 6th year. Is it possible that these things have started selling so fast that they've ramped up production, started outsourcing stuff? They're made in China. Maybe they've cheapened. Maybe they're doing it so fast on the assembly line that these welds aren't as good. Maybe it's a thinner metal. I have no idea. I've never put my hands on a brand new one, so I have nothing to compare it to. So if that's the case and that's why they're breaking, then I apologize for saying it's operator error. But until that's proven to me in a side-by-side comparison, I still have to believe a lot of it is operator error. Now, real quickly, the reason I left the bucket up in the air is because I wanted to bang on it and let you hear it. But also I wanted to demonstrate very quickly. I've seen several videos of people talking about how they store theirs. If you do not have the latch latched when you store it, do not store it like that. It'll sit there for years unless you have a leak. It'll sit there. But what if you've got grandchildren like I do? What if my little granddaughter's standing right there and my grandson walks over here and puts his hand on this and relieves the pressure? Whoops, I put my hand on the wrong one. And there goes my granddaughter. All I did was push against it, which relieved the hydraulic pressure, and down it came. And I just barely touched it. If I had pushed it, it would have come down fast and hard. So if you're going to have it stored and you got kids around, especially, and it's not latched, store it with the bucket on the ground. I do keep it curled out so that rainwater, if I don't have it under the shed, so that it won't fill up with rainwater. So that's why I have it curled out, not in. So anyhow, let's get to, we're already almost 10 minutes in. Let's get to the modifications I've done. That's the only thing I can really speak about, because if I haven't done them, I'll have no first-hand knowledge of them. The modifications I've done, and I'm going to rank them in order of importance to me. Okay, so they may not be as important to you depending on how you use your machine. Number 1 on my list is grease fittings, especially the two grease fittings inside here. They're very soft metal. If you stick a grease gun up in that hole, you don't have a lot of control on wiggling it and pulling it out because it's so far recessed up in there. And those grease fittings are soft and they'll snap off. So I took a deep socket and removed those grease fittings and put in newer, I'll just say American grease fittings, whatever. And they were soft. One of them almost rounded off getting it out. The metal is so soft. And a lot of people have broken those off. So to me, that was one of the #1 things to do as soon as I bought it. What's his name? Redneck Hillbilly, I believe, was the one that I watched before I ordered this one, like over 5 years ago. And that was one of the things he talked about, was how soft the metal was on the grease fitting. So that was the very first thing I did. So that was the #1 mod I did, was replace any Zerk type grease fittings, which there aren't that many. You'll see them and find them when you get yours if you don't already have one. The other #1 thing, there was kind of co-#1s for me, and that was part 1A and 1B. 1B is this control right here. The way it's numbered, all the lines are numbered from the factory, the hydraulic lines. When you put them on by the numbers, this control, if you push it, the boom comes towards you. If you pull it towards you, the boom goes away from you. Why they have it numbered that way, and every one I've ever heard anybody talk about is numbered that way. And it's a very simple fix. All you have to do is reverse, take the hose loose from here and put it there, and take the hose that you took off there and put it here. You basically reversed them. So now if you push it away from you, the boom goes away from you. If you pull it towards you, the boom comes towards you. For me, for operator convenience, and that's what all of these mods were for convenience. I didn't do any for strength or speed. For operator convenience, that was the #1 thing for me. It was really weird. A lot of people have switched the hoses. This is the side-to-side movement, and it's very jerky. And the theory is because it's the very first one from the input line, and so it has so much power on it that it's hard to feather it. It can be very jerky, especially at higher motor speeds. So some people have also moved that one further down by reversing the lines. I have it, and I've been running it 5.5 years. I kind of hate to do it now just because then I'd have to spend a couple of weeks getting used to it all over again. The other ones I've left alone because they fit me fine. This one is the up and down motion of the dipper, and it's out and in for out and in, and this is the bucket. If I pull it towards me, it curls. If I push it out, it goes out. So those were fine. So that was the #1 mod for me. 1A and 1B, replacing the soft grease Zerk fittings and reversing the hoses on that cylinder there for the movement of the boom up and down. #2 for me was the tongue and hitch. Stock, this is the stock hitch, and it sits on this and bolts. So it's like right here, and it's extremely short. And before I got my little mini truck, I was towing this thing with my tractor. And because it's so short, if I turned very sharp, the arms on the 3-point hitch of my tractor would swing in and hit. And I tore the corner off of this. You can see it's raw right there. So I guess that's something I've broken. And I bent this. So what I did was I extended it. Well, then when I extended it, because I'm on such hilly ground, every time I'd pick up throwing in the machine with the bucket, the trailer hitch would dig into the ground, and then I'd have to clean it out before I could hook it back up. So messing around one day, I found out this is a piece of 1¼ Reese hitch tube. The part that goes inside the actual hitch on the vehicle. So this should have the plate on the end where you would put your ball. I cut that off and took this 1.5 1¼ and found out it fits perfectly inside the tube that your trailer hitch bolted to. And then I obviously took 2 pins so I can slide it in, pin it, and it extends it far enough that I don't hit the motor anymore when I turn, and it's very simple to remove, so when I'm digging, I don't dig the hitch into the dirt. So that was #2 mod for me. The number 3 mod for me was the extra set of tires and axles. I debated whether or not to make this number 1, because if you already have one of these, you know that to change it from tow to, it's in the digging configuration right now. From the factory, you get 1 set of axles and tires. To put it in towing configuration, you have to remove the outriggers and move the tires from the back to the front into this section here. And then you have to just put your outriggers out of the way, and you have it in the towing configuration. To do that, you have to swing your boom over to one side, put the bucket down, and push to lift up one side of the machine. Remove these. Hopefully you've got it lifted enough that this tire comes off the ground. In my case, it was a pain because the ground's so unlevel. You switch them, then you pick it up, swing it to the other side, push down, and repeat the process. Gotta be honest with you, to me that may have been the worst part of this particular machine. So I ordered an extra set of axles and hubs and went to Walmart and bought these tires already mounted on these rims. Trailer tires. They are 4.8 by 12, which is what the stock ones are. And so now when I want to switch from the digging configuration to the towing configuration, I don't have to do all that back and forth stuff in 3 or 4 steps. Put the bucket in the middle just as it is, push down, which lifts this entire end of the machine, raising both outriggers off the ground. Pull the outriggers out, slide that out of its storage. The storage is just a piece of standard Reese tube. I bolted it instead of welding it, just welded an L bracket on it and drilled it. Got another one underneath, bolted it on, and they're just standing in there. You could drill a hole here so that you could pin it to keep them from coming out, but I've never had a problem with them trying to come out. They're heavy enough. Anyhow, you've picked up the end, you take that, you slide it in, you walk around the other side, do the same thing. Then I raise the boom up, extend it out, and the weight of the boom in the bucket causes the machine to come up in the air. So these are off the ground. I slide them out, slide them in here, and I'm in the towing mode. And to me, it's faster and simpler. I do have a video on my channel showing me doing that right there in front of the shop. I had it sitting there. So I'm not going to go through that process again. The video's there if anyone wants to watch it. And again, that was number 3 after the hydraulic lines and grease fittings and the tongue hitch, but it could have very easily been number 1 because I found it to really, really help with the switching from tow to dig process. So number 4 was, what do you do with the outriggers once you've taken them off and you want to tow it somewhere? That is a pain in the ass. I've seen people throw them in the back of their truck. I've seen them put them in the, if they have a front loader on their tractor that they're towing it with, they'll throw them in that. What I did, I got 2 1-foot pieces of 4-inch square steel tubing, and I tack welded it. It's welded there. Had to put it far enough over to be able to get to the holes for the pins. Got it tack welded, drilled it for a pin. So then when I take these off, I take this arm, slide it through here so that that part is back here, and it's sticking out here. I pin it through one of the stock holes that are in it. If I use the last hole, the 2 other holes are sticking out, so I can take this part, slide it on, and pin it with these pins. And it's sitting here like this, and then this part is sticking up. And it works great, perfect. I've towed it down the highway like that. The only problem was, one day I was greasing it with them in storage, picked the boom up, swung it around this way carelessly, and with this piece sticking up in the air, I hit it, and the hydraulics were strong enough to break my spot welds, and the whole thing just popped off. And as you can see, I have it welded back on. You can see where I had it welded. Got to grind all the paint off and weld it back on. So that's the only thing I've really broken, and that was my own doings of a mod, so I don't consider that part of the machine breaking. But that was my number 4 mod, was Outrigger Storage. Number 5 mod were the pins. Some people will rate it higher. The stock pins that come with it are the kind of L-shaped pins that you use mostly in your trailer hitches, on your Reese hitches. And because of the shape of those things and the pulling and twisting and all, they will waller these holes out and egg them out, and you get a lot of slop. So I switched to these pins. And you know, one thing I forgot to write on the mod list was this toolbox. That may have been the very first thing I did. And it would probably be number 1 on the list. It's just a little simple ammo box. And I used 2 of the bolts that hold this section on to hold it down. But these are the pins. I got them at Tractor Supply. I believe this one's 6-inch. These here I think are 4-inch, so they won't stick down so far. But they work great, and they don't egg out the holes like the stock angled pins will. So that was my number 5. Number 6, and this one is one that may jump up to number 1 for some people because of, again, how you use it and how much you use it, and that's the thumb. I made mine removable, drilled 2 holes, got grade 8 bolts right there, about midway the dipper. Had to do some measuring. Depends on the size of the thumb. And gotta be honest with you, I don't use the thumb near as much as I thought I would. I used it a ton when I first put it on, moving rock and trees and stuff that I had cut, loading trees into the trailer and truck. Works great, and I've got videos. I got, I think, 3 videos showing it in use, and you can search those on the channel. And the thumb, it was so heavy I didn't tote it over there. The reason I made it removable is it gets in the way when you're moving and digging and not using it, and it's extremely heavy. This plate, these 2 holes here, go on those 2 bolts that you saw. Bolts it up to the dipper. And then this pin goes in whichever one of these 3 holes you need to put it in. And then this goes in this hole here and goes to here, so that you can, as you swing your thumb out, you can change the angles. Again, you can go to the videos. I think I've got 3 different videos. One of them is at park right here under this shed where Dumpy's parked, showing it how it's mounted and how it works. But that was, for me, that was the number 6 mod, because I put it that far down because, to be honest with you, when you need it, it's worth $1 million. When you don't need it, it's just in the way. So that's why I made it removable and not permanently mounted. So there you go, Arwin, and anyone else that may be still hanging around 23 minutes into the video. That's my take on mods for the Harbor Freight Trencher. Man, I can feel fall in the air. It's September the 1st here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I can really feel a touch of fall in the air. So that's my take on the Harbor Freight Trencher modifications. I've got some paperwork to do. I'm going to sit here at the computer and enjoy the lovely picture and get some work done at the desk. And I appreciate you joining us here on the Double M Farm, and we'll talk to you again real soon.